All right, guys, it is my pleasure to bring to you the former executive vice president of WCW, the former general manager of Raw, the man who rebuilt WCW from nothing. And that's something I actually want to get into with you right off the bat, Eric. Is you're a man who took a company that was losing $68 million a year and had it making $349 million a year. You know how to rebuild a company from death. And I think that if we look at a business that's very near and dear to both of our hearts, I think that's something that we actually really need to be talking about. Is that I want your opinion on how would we go about rebuilding this business? How do we rebuild Harley Davidson? Because the numbers, they're just, it's been getting worse. The marketing isn't there. What's going on? Because Americans are buying more motorcycles, but it seems like they're coming from foreign companies. And you being a Harley guy, I saw you on Dark Side of the Ring riding up on the Road King. Where do we go from here as motorcyclists?
God, I love that question. I love it.
I thought you might.
We could do an entire episode on this question alone.
That was his idea. Was to do an entire episode.
I mean, we've beaten the wrestling horse to death. Let's get into this because if you look at 69 to 81, the AMF years, they lost a lot of goodwill with consumers. And I don't know. I mean, the bikes are better now; they're more reliable, but people aren't buying them, and I can't figure out what the disconnect is.
I think there's a few disconnects. It comes down to performance.
Yeah.
And here's, oh God, I've never revealed this before to anybody.
It pleases me to be the first.
We love scoops.
And actually, hey, Jamie McFarland from the UK, I love that. I love when we have people from outside of the United States joining a broadcast.
We'll get some today, man. We're on early enough that the UK fans are going to hop in here, and maybe it's a little early for the Philippines. We do fundraisers for them, but who knows? We might get one or two of those pop in too. But yeah, we'll have some international people in here today.
That's awesome. So I've been a Harley guy pretty much all my life. I had my first Harley was a 74 Harley Super Glide, AMF era. And by the way, AMF was primarily known for making bowling equipment.
Yeah, they were a Bakelite company was the as I understand it. They did the enamels for bowling balls.
And it's for whatever reason they decided, through acquisitions and vertical integration and all the things that have fucked up. Can I say that in this?
Yeah, knock
you
yourself
can
out.
say anything you want, especially the F word.
All right. Because I have to be careful on my own podcast. On my own podcast, I have to be really careful. Well,
no, not here. We're here to talk about failing American motorcycle industry. Let's get to it.
But back when Harleys were AMF, my first Harley, and I was so excited to get a Harley because as a little kid growing up in the 60s, when you'd see a big dresser Harley, that was like the most awesome bike, right? And when I was finally able to get my first Harley, I was so excited. I felt so good about it. It was a 1200 Super Glide FX. I think it was an FXE. I'm not sure what the name of the bike was, but it was a Super Glide. And the thing leaked oil like a sieve. And I remember taking my then girlfriend on a ride from Minneapolis to Brainerd in north central Minnesota, which is a big recreational lake area.
Yeah.
It's only about 140 miles maybe. And I was beat to death by the time I got there because the bike just vibrated, and the first, 30, 40 miles, you don't pay attention to it. You don't notice it because you're excited. You're on the bike. You get the wind in your hair. You got the sound of that Harley going.
It's the freedom, as they say.
Yeah. And then after about a half hour, 45 minutes, you go, fuck, I'm falling asleep. Oh my God, I got 10 hours of sleep. I'm falling asleep on this bike.
Oh my God.
The vibration just beats you to death. And then, when AMF bailed out and Harley Davidson, I don't know what the history was, but I think Harley repurchased their stock or something like that.
I understand that it was repurchased by some board members. They purchased the stock, took it over, and decided they were going to try to fix what was wrong, as I understand.
Yeah, and they did. And for a long, Harleys are much better bikes now than they ever have been. But there's something about the technology in Japanese bikes in particular. It's kind of hard to, really, if you put your patriotism aside and your ego aside and your identity with the, your tribal identity with the Harley community, put that all aside. And the truth is there's a lot better bikes out there and they cost less money.
They do. And that's what